Hey comic book fans, a while back I made a video about how I would pitch a live-action Nightwing movie because at the time we were a few years removed from Chris McKay, the director of the Tomorrow War and the Lego Batman movie, announcing that he would be hard at work on a Nightwing movie. 6 years later and we're still waiting on that film. But now the DC landscape has entirely changed. James Gunn and Peter Safran are introducing a completely new DC universe and introducing a bevy of new characters. James Gunn himself has even confirmed that we will be seeing some members of the Bat family in the upcoming film The Brave and the Bold, so this could potentially be a live-action Nightwing appearance that we've all been waiting for. So with the winds of change approaching DC, I thought now would be a better time than ever to shake off the cobwebs and bring back an idea I've been working on for over 2 years now, pitching a Nightwing movie, Part 2. For those that haven't seen Part 1 or just need a quick refresher because it's been a while, let's revisit it very quickly.
As Dick Grayson is packing up his bags, getting ready to move out of the mansion. I just need to sort some things out, Al. Bruce has his way of doing things, but I don't think I see things the same way anymore. I've had my eye on Bloodhaven for a bit. Needing to find a place to live, he tracks down an apartment complex and goes to make an offer. "Why Bloodhaven?" asks Superman. "I felt like I needed a change of scene, away from him." "Didn't your mom ever teach you not to touch other people's things?" Here we get our first look at Nightwing in action. It's a fun action set piece that will use to showcase his athleticism and acrobatics as well as his humor. "Everybody knows Blockbuster's the only guy to work for around here. He owns this city." An officer slightly older than Nightwing steps out of her vehicle and surveys his handiwork. Initially, we don't get a clear view of Blockbuster as he's lurking in the shadows. "We don't know who this guy is, but he could potentially be a threat to us down." Before he can finish his sentence, a pair of monstrous hands emerges from the shadows, grabs the henchman's head, and snaps it 180 degrees back.
"Let's teach him who makes the rules around here."
"A bit outside the norm, isn't it?" Bridget says teasingly. "Believe it or not, this is where I grew up. And I may or may not still know the guy that runs it." "Why, if it isn't little Richard Grayson all grown up. If you're looking for a job, you've always got family here. So if this is so great, what made you quit?" "There was an accident one night when we were in Gotham. Someone saw what happened and I got adopted pretty quickly after. Life was pretty different from then on out. But as I grew up, someone still saw me as that kid from the circus. We had a big fight and now I'm here having dinner with you. Guess there will always be disagreements between fathers and sons." After the show, Dick and Bridget see some sketchy-looking characters approaching Mr. Haley. Seeing that he's unarmed, Dick grabs 2 nearby batons that were used during the show and rushes into action. Dick quickly takes out the thugs, but not before placing a tracker on one of them for later. He follows him to a massive warehouse where it seems the criminals are having some form of meetup. "So, who's the jackwagon shaking down a circus for protection money?" Once Nightwing has disposed of the room, he finds the thug that shook down Haley. "Tell your boss, this town is under my protection, not his."
If that's how our new friend wants to play things, so be it.
While transferring the info to a thumb drive, a voice in the doorway says, "Freeze! Step away from the computer with your hands up." It's the same officer that showed up when Dick stopped the drug deal down at the docks.
"We've got an 1171 massive fire down on Dixon Pier. Suspected arson."
It's Haley's circus. His home away from home was under attack. Blockbuster has sent his message. Inside, under some rubble, is the body of Mr. Haley, gasping for air. "Richard, don't worry about me. How did you? I watched you for years. You think because you wear a mask I don't recognize a flying Grayson when I see one?" With his last breath, Mr. Haley slips away in Dick's arms. Badly beaten up and with his suit now damaged due to the flames, he begins to lose consciousness. Dick finds himself back in the Batcave with Alfred at his side. "This is my fault, my responsibility. If I didn't egg on Blockbuster, didn't let my personal feelings get in the way, innocent people would still be alive today. He would still be alive." "Believe it or not, Master Wayne used to say the same thing about you, Master Dick. You aren't as dissimilar as you like to think. You must be able to forgive yourself." He can't go back out there and fight Blockbuster. His suit was destroyed in the fire. He is still a Wayne. And Waynes are always prepared. He opens a panel to reveal the classic black and blue Nightwing suit, following in the grand superhero movie tradition of suit upgrades later in the movie. While Officer Rohrbach is busy with Redhorn, Nightwing goes to confront Blockbuster face to face. Thanks to the proud and the few not on your payroll, Chief Redhorn over there has a slew of officers waiting to arrest him. Hearing that, Blockbuster immediately charges for Redhorn, but Nightwing springs into action.
"You can't run forever. I will crush you."
As Nightwing says this, he dodges out of the way of another Blockbuster attack. which sends Blockbuster through yet another support beam, this time bringing down concrete from the floor above to fall and completely cover Blockbuster. She also tells him that while he was gone, he received some interesting mail. Dick finds he got some mail from Haley Circus. Opening it up, he discovers the last will and testament of Mr. Haley, gifting the circus to Dick. We then get to see Dick on his first day at the police academy, where he officially meets his new supervisor, Officer Amy Rohrbach.
Now that you're caught up with all the action so far, let's delve back into the world of Nightwing and Bloodhaven in the long overdue Pitching a Nightwing Movie, Part 2. Our movie takes place 2 years after the events of the first film. Nightwing has become more established within the city, but ever since he took out Blockbuster, there's been a massive power vacuum within the city to see who controls its underworld. In Blockbuster's absence, Dudley Soames, aka Torque, the man Blockbuster attempted to murder in the first movie, is currently the head of the crime table. We open with a bunch of Torque's goons attempting to break into a bank, your standard run-of-the-mill comic book setup. Nightwing bursts onto the scene, cracking a few bad puns and showing a real handle on the situation. We have a fun action set piece showcasing Nightwing's hand-to-hand and acrobatic combat skills. Here we see that Dick has only grown more confident and assured since moving to Bloodhaven, showing what he's like at his highest, before we knock him down to his lowest later. However, a second wave of henchmen come onto the scene, brandishing some more heavy-duty weaponry. We do this to show that in the past 2 years, crime and the methods of criminals have only escalated. It's becoming harder and harder on a nightly basis to protect the city. Nightwing retreats for cover for a brief second to formulate a new plan of attack. After catching his breath, he takes out the thugs one by one. We could even have some fun with this scene and have him taunting the bad guys as he slowly takes them out. As the scene ends, Dick could say to himself, "I am really good at my job." Immediately smash cut to him, fast asleep at his desk during his daytime job. He's awoken by getting hit in the head by his partner, Amy Rohrbach. Dick is still working at the Bloodhaven Police Department and is now paired with Officer Rohrbach, the same officer he worked with while under the Nightwing disguise to help bring down Blockbuster in our first movie. Late night partying again? Something like that, Dick says sarcastically. Come on, partner. Let's go get some actual coffee, not the crap in the break room. Dick and Amy head to go get some coffee during this time, and we'll use this scene to immediately establish that the relationship between Dick and Amy is purely platonic. There will be no romantic tension whatsoever between these characters. We can also get a better understanding of where our characters are at and what the world around them currently looks like. Dick and Amy can lament that the city seems to somehow have gotten worse since the fall of Blockbuster. At least he kept his men in order and had rules. Now crime in the city is more rampant and chaotic than ever. Heavy-duty guns, chaos in the streets, no real solutions. Grayson, you ever have any doubts about coming to the city? Not for a second. Gotham just was not for me anymore. Too many painful memories, and I knew I could never move on if I didn't move out. Crime's bad here, but hey, at least it's not Gotham. You ever wonder what it would be like if Batman ever came to Bloodhaven? Amy asks. Think he and Nightwing would get along? We don't need him here. Between the police department and Nightwing, we can cover our bases just fine. Seeing the confusion now on his partner's face, Dick clarifies. When I lived in Gotham, Batman was everywhere. He casts kind of a big shadow. I just don't want that shadow following me here. The two cops don't say anything for a moment, but the tension is cut when their radios blare. We got a 1071 down at 84th and Dixon. Suspect is believed to be Dudley Soames. All officers nearby needed. Saved by the call, says Amy. Here's where we get our introduction to one of the film's villains, Torque. Torque, aka Dudley Soames, as previously stated, worked for Blockbuster, but was nearly killed by the behemoth when Blockbuster twisted his neck completely around. Now the man's head faces 180 degrees the opposite direction and is supported by a brace. Talk about eyes in the back of your head. I'm sorry. However, Torque isn't necessarily the sharpest knife in the drawer and will more be used as a pawn in this story. Dick and Amy show up to a massive standoff between Torque's men and the Bloodhaven Police Department. What's the situation? We finally got Soames pinned down, but he says he's not coming quietly. A cop abruptly emerges from the group and says he'll go talk to Soames and try and get him out of the building. What are you doing? That goes against protocol, Amy screams at him in frustration. He picks up a megaphone, but as he goes to speak, he's shot in the shoulder by one of Torque's men. A firefight ensues with Amy and Dick quickly running for cover. Over on the side, this is all part of Torque's plan as he was able to quickly sneak away while all the fighting is happening around him. Having let Torque slip through their fingers again, Dick and Amy help the officers at the scene before retreating back to the station. Torque sneaks away to a secret hideout, or at least a location that he thought was secret. Emerging from one of the shadows is a man Torque has never seen before. A man decked out head to toe in tactical gear and sporting an orange and black mask. Ah, great! Another masked freak. Just what my city needs.
Mr. Soames? You may call me Deathstroke. I have been watching you for a great while, and I think you're just the man I need for a very lucrative business opportunity.
And what business is that, Mr. Stroke?
The extermination business, with a preference for those in the vigilante line of work. I know you and your operation have had more than a few run-ins with Nightwing. I think we can be of use to each other. Consider this a gift between friends.
Deathstroke puts a briefcase on the table, containing a new high-tech neck brace and a pair of AI-enhanced goggles, both designed specifically for Torque. Well, Mr. Stroke, I think we can come to some form of an agreement, as a sly grin comes across the face of the mobster. The next day, Dick and Amy retrace their steps to try and figure out their next move to try and catch Torque. Soames must have had some friends in high places. He's not the sharpest guy out there, but he's got connections throughout the city that keep him one step ahead of us, Dick remarks. Or he just happens to have the right friends placed in the right spots. The scene was under control before Officer Numbskull over there tried bargaining with him. You think Soames has officers on his payroll? In this town, you can never fully rule anything out. We may need to start keeping our eyes peeled for strange things internally before we go trying to bring him down. Suddenly, Dick and Amy are ambushed by a swarm of thugs, no doubt Torque sending some form of retaliation for the previous day's events. The two cops are severely overmatched. We've previously seen Dick hold his own on a fight against a large group of thugs, but in regular work attire, and with Amy not knowing his alter ego, Dick has to tone down his abilities so as not to raise suspicion. However, when the fight seems to be at its worst, a mysterious figure leaps into action to turn the fight in the cops' favor. The mysterious combatant is decked out in all black, with his face obscured with a solid black mask. They quickly dispose of the rest of the thugs, albeit using some excessive force to get the job done. They help Dick and Amy to their feet, but disappear before the cops can ask them any questions. Another vigilante in town? I thought I knew all the masked weirdos running around here, Amy retorts. Yeah, so did I, Dick says skeptically, unsure of who or what just helped them out. However, unbeknownst to Amy, as he is being helped up by the mystery hero, Dick snuck a tracker on them to do some investigating later on as Nightwing, the same technique he used to get intel on Blockbuster in our first film, except this time the result will be different. That night, Nightwing heads out to try and get some information about the new masked figure in town. The signal is emanating from the basement of an abandoned building on the east side of Bloodhaven. When Nightwing arrives on the scene, however, the only thing he finds is the tracker itself, clearly no longer attached to its intended target. Whoever is behind the mask knew that they were being tracked and decided to use that information against Nightwing. Nightwing got lazy, and now he knows he made a mistake.
Word of advice,
A voice from the shadow says.
if you're gonna tag someone for recon, maybe do it when you're in the suit next time. Now it makes it a little easier to put two and two together. But don't worry, kid. Your secret's safe with me.
Gee, thanks. I feel so reassured. So then, who exactly are you? Stepping out of the shadows is an older man sporting an eye patch and a goatee.
My name is Wilson. Slade Wilson. And I've been following your career for a while now.
I don't know if I should be honored or creeped out by that. What do you want, Mr. Wilson?
I want to help you make a difference. I've been fighting wars my whole life. When I came home after my tour, I knew I wanted to go somewhere where I could put my skills to use and help people. I enjoy going to places no one else will, and Bloodhaven's reputation spoke for itself. I've seen what the city has become, and I believe that together, you and I can make it a safe place again. You've clearly got some decent training, but I think I could still teach you a thing or two. Last time I checked, you were in the market for a partner?
Clearly, your sources are out of date. When it comes to superheroing, I haven't had a partner for a bit. Didn't work out so well last time.
I understand that. You don't have to let me know right now. Think it over and let me know what you decide. We'll be in touch. Oh, and Nightwing. Next time, be sure you're a few moves ahead.
As Slade tosses the tracker back at Nightwing. The next morning, Dick reports into work at the police station. Hey, I need you to look into somebody for me. Got the name of our mystery savior, Slade Wilson. Can you run a background check on him for me? Dick asks Amy. After some digging, Amy pulls up quite a bit of information about one Mr. Wilson. Looks like he spent a dozen or so years overseas. Says here former Black Ops Special Forces, that type of stuff. He was the sole survivor of some special government hush mission, in which case he was tasked with being the head of the group. Ever since then, it seems like he's gone completely off the grid. No info, nothing for the past few years. Upon hearing about Slade's former team and going off the grid, Dick begins to sympathize with the man due to his time leading a team as well. Amy sees Dick's expression change upon finding out some of this information and asks if he's alright. Dick says his experiences aren't too dissimilar to Slade's. Back in the day, he ran with a team of highly trained individuals that he almost considered family. One day they had a mission where everything was going fine. A mission that Dick was the one in charge of. But not everyone came home that day. He lost a good friend. Dick is of course referring to his time back when he was Robin, leading the Teen Titans, and the teammate that they lost under his watch was a kid named Jericho. But we'll circle back to that later. Dick begins to loosen his stance on Slade, suggesting maybe he's just looking for some purpose. Just because you guys have similar experiences doesn't mean he's trustworthy. I still think something's a little sketchy with him, so keep your guard up, Amy suggests. That night, Nightwing resumes his hunt for Torque. He goes to a well-known hangout spot for some of Torque's men, hoping to get some information on their boss's whereabouts. He sneaks around, picking off the goons one by one. We could have a really tense scene here where he's trying not to make any noise for fear of more guys showing up. But when he's eventually spotted, all hell breaks loose. At first, Nightwing has a handle on the situation, cracking jokes and making light of the circumstances. But more and more guys are arriving and showing up well armed. However, when things look the most dire for our boy in blue, who should show up in full gear but Slade Wilson?
I thought I told you to think a few moves ahead.
With Slade at Dick's side, the balance of the fight begins to shift in their favor. The two work surprisingly well together, albeit Slade having a bit more intensity in his fighting style, which showcases itself when Slade goes a bit overboard on some of the goons. The two masked heroes eventually clear out the room, and Nightwing is able to get some answers from Slade. How did you know I was here?
That's a funny way to say thanks for your help, Slade,
he says sarcastically.
You think you're the only one that knows about this place? I have connections too, just the same as you.
Slade then once again asks Dick if he wants to work together to take down Torque. He makes the argument that since criminals have gotten more dangerous, it'd be beneficial for them to be on the same page and watch each other's backs. Slade says he's even willing to teach Nightwing some new combat and interrogation techniques that could help him during the evening patrols. After a moment of contemplation, Dick reluctantly agrees that a second pair of eyes would be helpful. Slade tells Nightwing to meet him at the basement where they first talked tomorrow night, and they can get started on training and taking down Torque. Here's where we set up one of the core themes of the movie: partners. Dick has a partner he depends on for his day job, and now, for the first time since splitting from Batman, he now has a partner whilst being a superhero. All the while, Dick hasn't emotionally moved on from his previous partnership. As teased earlier on, he still harbors ill will towards Batman. Now what happens when he gets burned by a partner again?
Foreshadowing.
Because I have faith in you as a viewer to catch on to what's happening here, and because I'm sure you have some comic book knowledge if you're watching this video, we're gonna go ahead and spoil the quote-unquote big twist of the movie. Slade Wilson is in fact Deathstroke, the masked figure working with Torque. Huge shocker there, I know. But here's why I think it's important to tell this story element now as opposed to revealing it later. I think there could be more tension and buildup if we blatantly see the danger coming for our main hero, but never fully know when the danger will hit. It's more suspenseful if we know Slade is actually evil the whole time, and will eventually turn on Dick, then a sudden twist. But you ask, why would Slade want to teach Nightwing anything in the first place? Aren't they enemies? Very true. But Deathstroke is as cunning as he is lethal. His mind is just as strong as his physical attributes. Deathstroke could easily kill Nightwing, but he knows that to truly beat him, he has to destroy every part of him, destroy the idea that Dick is a good person. Slade wants to train Dick to essentially become someone Dick won't even recognize. Someone that only wants to hurt and destroy. Someone that the city of Bloodhaven could grow to fear and distrust, turning the whole city against Nightwing. Think along the lines of Karate Kid Part 3. In that movie, Terry Silver, one of the founders of the evil Cobra Kai dojo, manipulates the main hero, Daniel LaRusso, into training with him and tries to do everything in his power to destroy Daniel. He goes against everything Daniel has been taught up till this point, but does so in a manner that Daniel thinks is friendly and helpful. I want the same thing from Deathstroke and Nightwing. Nightwing's fatal character flaw has always been a willingness to trust anyone. Let's have an enemy actually use that weakness to their advantage. With the true relationship between Slade and Dick established, we follow them the next night for their first time working and training together.
Crime never goes away. It just continues to evolve. The question is, are you willing to evolve with it?
Slade asks Dick.
You've had adequate training thus far, but even Batman only knows so much.
Let's not bring Batman into this, okay? And what do you think you know that Batman doesn't already? Dick asks skeptically.
When I fight someone, I make sure they aren't getting back up.
Whoa, Bats and I didn't agree on much, but the whole no-killing thing was pretty good common ground.
I never said anything about killing, Grayson. You didn't let me finish. With criminals getting stronger and better armed, I need to make sure I'm making the first move and making it count. Make strong, assertive moves that my opponent won't want to get up from. Thus far, you've been taught how to react, and in that sense, you've been taught well. Now I want to teach you how to be able to make the first moves and make them memorable.
With that, Slade begins introducing Dick to some new, albeit more aggressive, combat styles to use while out on patrol. Dick is initially reluctant at first because some of the methods seem a bit extreme, but Slade continues to reassure Dick that these are what Bloodhaven needs to be kept safe. This becomes the trend for the next several nights as Dick trains with Slade, followed by the two men doing some investigations into Torque's operations. They eventually discover that Torque is running several phony businesses as fronts for his real crimes.
I think it's time we put some of those new moves to the test. Don't you agree?
Slade says to Dick as the two men make their way to one of the fronts. We get a big action scene that can contrast really well with the action scene from the beginning of the movie. There, Nightwing was more jokey and having fun. Here, he'll be much more assertive, focused, and aggressive. Nothing too extreme in the violence department, but a notable step up from where he was at previously. That is, until a thug gets the drop on Slade. With Slade occupied with his own group of thugs, he doesn't notice a gun aimed right for his head. Nightwing leaps into action to protect his new partner, but breaks the crook's arm in the process. The catalyst for Dick's newfound aggression will be rooted in his desire to keep his partner safe. To not lose another teammate, not again. As the criminal writhes on the ground in pain, Nightwing interrogates him about Torque. Your boss, what do you feel like telling us about him? If you don't, I'm sure I can find a way to level those arms out so they're about equal. I swear I don't know much. I could just tell you some of the places he runs that you guys might not know about. That's mighty generous of you. Now, was that so hard? Nightwing asks sarcastically. We see in a montage this recurring cycle of Nightwing and Slade going to various locations, shaking down the thugs, and trying to find Torque. All the while, Dick is getting more and more violent. Slowly but surely, he begins to develop a reputation among the Bloodhaven criminal underworld. They start to fear Nightwing, and in return, Nightwing is using that fear against them. Sound familiar? That's right, because of Slade's influence, Dick is becoming more and more like Batman, the one person he swore he'd never become. We've spent a decent amount of time with Dick and Slade. Let's hop on over to our secondary antagonist, Torque. He's feeling panicked as he knows the walls are closing in around him as Nightwing gets closer and closer to bringing him in. At one of his secret hideouts, Deathstroke reconnects with Torque, to which Torque lays into Deathstroke. What are you even good for? Since you've come to town, Nightwing has only gotten closer than ever to turning my operation belly up. You said you had a plan.
I do have a plan, and it's all going exactly how it's supposed to. I've kept you alive so far, haven't I? I'm making sure that together, we're one step ahead of Nightwing at all times. Don't you worry.
Torque continues to voice his frustrations, citing the dwindling numbers of henchmen at his disposal, and even less henchmen seeming to want to work for them, presumably because they don't want to be beaten to a bloody pulp. "I've been in this game too long," Torque screams. "I deserve this whole city!"
Believe me when I say, my friend, when this is all over, you'll get exactly what you deserve. And so will Nightwing.
We cut to the next morning as Dick and Amy are working on paperwork at the police department. Another set of cops bring in a random group of criminals, ones that clearly had an extra rough night. This starts an interesting dialogue between our two lead cops when Amy randomly asks, "Hey, is it just me or are people coming in here looking a little more worse for the wear lately? Haven't really noticed. Just been noticing that there's been less of them is all." True, Amy says with a hint of judgment in her voice. "I know that voice. That's the I have thoughts, but I don't want to say them voice." Amy reassures Dick that she really meant nothing by it, but deep down, we as the audience know that she's catching on that something isn't quite right with her partner. That night, after their training, Slade and Dick have a heart-to-heart conversation. Dick tells Slade that for a first-time teacher, he's not too bad. Slade tells Dick that he actually has taught someone before. Just one person.
I had a son once. A few years younger than you. But a fighter. I trained him for years, but all the training in the world can't keep you safe all the time.
What happened to him?
He was taken from me. He was the only family I had left. After he died, I lost my sense of purpose. It's the reason I went back into the field. I told you it was because I wanted to help? No. I went back into the field because I wanted to die. But some old habits die hard, and I'm still kicking. Eventually, I realized my son would have wanted me to go on. To make things right. I knew this city could use some help. So I came here. For my son.
Slade's whole motivation for his actions revolve around his son. On the flip side, whether consciously or not, Dick's motivations come from proving his quote-unquote father wrong, to try everything in his power to not be like Batman. Dick empathizes with Slade due to needing to fill that emotional father figure role that's been empty since his fracture from Batman, and that tumultuous relationship came to an end without ever getting proper healing. "I think if your son was alive, he'd be incredibly proud of the work you're doing," Dick says.
I appreciate that, Grayson. I'm sure it doesn't mean much coming from me, but for what it's worth, if you were my son, I'd be proud of you.
Slade picks his words very carefully to have the most impact possible so he can emotionally manipulate Dick, preying on his weakness, the need for validation.
Oh, I almost forgot. I just got done with this little project I've been working on, and I want you to have it.
He unveils a new suit for Nightwing, except the classic blue has been replaced with a dark shade of red. I think this could be a fun way to change up the costume and give a tip of the cap to the new 52 suit design, while still having a story reason to do so.
I've reinforced it with more armor, yet it should be even more agile. It even has a tracker on it, so if you ever get in too deep, I could drop everything and bail you out. Plus, there's a few other fun surprises in it.
Dick seems hesitant to take the new suit, with Slade telling him to think on it and not rush to a decision. At his home, Dick stands alone with both his classic blue suit and his new red suit in front of him, deciding which direction to go. He remembers when Alfred gifted him the original suit, and hears Alfred's voice in his head saying, "You are still a Wayne, and Waynes are always prepared." He then hears Slade's voice again saying,
If you were my son, I'd be proud of you.
With a heavy sigh, Dick reaches for the classic blue suit and puts it away in favor of the new red one. Thematically, this is Dick abandoning everything in his life that has led him to this moment, burying the past and pushing forward, fully embracing who he thinks he is now. With his new red suit in tow, Nightwing goes out on his own to try and shut down another one of Torque's shady businesses. He gives Slade a heads up as to where he's going,
but Slade says he's following up on a different lead, and will meet up with Nightwing as soon as he can. With this now being a solo mission, we can fully showcase the quote-unquote new and improved Nightwing in his final form, red suit and all. He starts by picking off the thugs covertly one by one to ramp up the intimidation factor, before dropping down to attack head-on. Now Nightwing's approach is vastly different from the start of the film. Gone are the wisecracks, one-liners, and more controlled approach to fighting. Now it's all about the level of damage and fear he can inflict. He's still not going to kill anyone. We won't go that far. But it's still much more brutal fighting style Dickie's using than what we've seen in the past. Imagine a character going from a Spider-Man fighting style to a Punisher style. More than a few criminals will have serious injuries, including broken arms and legs and some dislocated shoulders. However, in the midst of the chaos, Nightwing sees a familiar face. One he never expected to be here. It's a fellow cop from the Bloodhaven Police Department. The same one that instigated the riot that let Torque escape in the first place. Nightwing tries to run after the rat as he attempts to flee, but is stopped by another barrage of thugs. Nightwing continues to unleash his aggression on the henchmen, before eventually standing tall, with many bloody and battered men at his feet. The next morning, Dick arrives at the police station to confront his fellow officer, but he knows he needs to be careful because Nightwing saw the cop at the warehouse. Dick Grayson wouldn't possibly know that. "Hey, how's it going? Do anything fun last night?" Dick asks as he approaches the snitch. "Nah, you know how it is. Just went home, kicked back, watched some TV." "You sure about that? I was talking to a friend on the night shift and they were talking about some crazy stuff that went down last night in that warehouse on Tomasky Street. They said they could have swore they saw you there." At this point, Amy comes over to assess the situation. "What's going on here? Your partner over here has a crazy imagination, making up some stories about me and accusing me of being dirty. To be fair, I never said you were a dirty cop. Only heavily implied it. Cute. I'm not saying I was there. I'm not saying I wasn't. But so what if I have a side hustle? Everyone in this town does to make ends meet. We didn't all get the fortune that comes with getting adopted by a rich prick after our real mommy and daddy go splat." With that, Dick clocks the officer in the face with a stiff right hand, dropping him to the floor. A scuffle ensues with Amy getting in the middle and attempting to break it up. She takes Dick away and scolds him for his hot-headedness. "What the hell is wrong with you? You don't just deck a coworker, even if they do deserve it. Talk to me, Grayson. What's going on? You haven't been yourself since Soames got away. We're partners. Let me help you." "I'm fine!" A prolonged silence lingers in the air as even Dick is taken aback by his outburst. "I'm fine. Really. I appreciate the concern. It's just..." Dick walks away sullenly as he goes outside to clear his head. Once outside, he gets a call from an unknown number.
"Hey, kid,"
says the voice of Slade on the other end. "Please tell me you have some good news. I could really use some good news right now."
"Only the best. Remember that lead I told you I was working on? Well, they came through and we have a confirmed location for Soames. He's closer to your side of town right now, though, so if you want him, you better hurry. I'll get there as soon as I can."
Tossing the phone aside, Dick runs off to get suited up. As he's leaving, Amy sees him and decides to follow him, sensing something is wrong. Arriving at the location Slade gave him, Nightwing does some quick recon. Surprisingly, there are no guards or even henchmen. It's just Torque, all by himself. The perfect scenario to end things. "Hey, Dudley. Good to see you. I've been looking all over for you. You don't call, you don't write. What can I say? I'm a busy man. Businesses to run, places to be. How about you come with me and we can take some of those tiresome responsibilities off your hands? So I could end up in the hospital clinging to life like the rest of my guys you attacked? I think I'll pass on that," Torque says as he produces a machine gun and starts to spray the room with gunfire. Nightwing leaps into action and starts to chase after Torque, who makes his way towards the stairwell. Torque bounds up the stairs, all the while trying to aim at Nightwing using his special goggles. Reaching the rooftop, Nightwing finally has Torque cornered. He can finally take care of the big thorn in his side. "Looks like the end of the line, Soames." "Maybe. For now. But think about this. I've made it this long because I've had many friends in high places. I'm sure those same friends will make sure I'm not stuck for very long. Then all your hard work, all your running around to catch me, will be all for naught. At the end of the day, I still own this city. And as long as I do, you'll always be fighting an impossible battle. One that I'll make sure has casualties.
With that, Nightwing lunges at Torque and proceeds to viciously attack him. He takes him to the ground and starts to unleash his newfound aggression on the man that has made him run in circles for months. He rains down a flurry of punches on the downed Torque, who at this point is now coughing up blood. Where does it end, Soames? What's it gonna take? With each passing punch, it gets more and more uncomfortable to watch as Nightwing pummels the villain, gasping for air. Barely conscious now from the beating, Torque says in a weak voice, "You can't change this city, but I'm glad to see that it's finally changing you." Hearing that, Nightwing drops Torque and stares down at his own bloody hands in disbelief. For the first time in months, Nightwing actually thinks about what he's done, all the terrible things he's done in the name of cleaning up the city. In his desperate attempt to save the city, he's become the one thing he swore he'd never be: consumed by anger, just like Batman. Taking a moment, Nightwing goes to Torque to tend to his wounds and bring him in the right way. But as he goes to him, a slight mechanical noise comes out of Torque's neck brace, the one given to him by Deathstroke. The brace was booby-trapped and the trap has been sprung, resulting in small blades on the inside going into the now dead mobster's neck. It was all a setup, as Nightwing is now holding Torque's dead body as he bleeds out. Stunned by the turn of events, Dick is paralyzed with shock as he now sits holding Torque. Fighting back tears of frustration and confusion, Nightwing looks up as a nearby billboard lights up. Similar to the end credits of Spider-Man Far From Home, we'll have a news reporter pop up and give info. "This just in, known gangster Dudley Soames, aka Torque, has been murdered tonight. The culprit? None other than Bloodhaven's own vigilante, Nightwing. The following footage was just sent to us of the incident. We caution our viewers, this could be disturbing." What plays on the screen is footage taken from Nightwing's own perspective as he viciously assaults Torque. Unbeknownst to our hero, his quote-unquote new and improved suit came equipped with a tiny camera on the front that's been monitoring and recording every move he's made. However, the footage shown on the news station edits out any involvement of the booby-trap neck brace, only Nightwing's attacks. This attack comes after a string of violent assaults from the former hero, prompting many in the city to call for his arrest. The news station then also plays recorded footage from Nightwing's other attacks against Torque's men, displaying his now more violent tendencies for the entire city to see. Struck with a sense of rage and disbelief, Dick realizes what's been going on. He's been played. He trusted someone and now has been badly burned. This whole time, Torque wasn't the threat. It was Slade. Despite being emotionally compromised, Nightwing goes to confront Slade and understand everything that's happened. He goes back to their base, but just like the first time they met, Slade was ready and waiting for him. Except this time, Slade is decked out in orange and black tactical gear, ready for a fight. How? How could you betray me? I thought we were working together to clean up this city. Now you burn all that down, and for what?
First off, betrayal implies that I was ever on your side to begin with. And second of all, the streets are cleaner now, aren't they? One less scumbag out there.
You were always gonna kill him, weren't you? We don't kill! That's not how we do things!
Maybe that's not how you do things. I'm not tied down by some flimsy morality that keeps me from doing what needs to be done. Plus, don't act like you're not happy to see it. I did you a huge favor when you think about it. Whether you want to admit it or not.
But why? Why, Torque? Why bring me into this at all?
Because it's only ever been about you. I've thought about nothing but you for years, and how best to ruin you. Years ago, you ran with those so-called friends of yours. The Titans. Tell me, Dick, did you ever lose anyone? Did anyone ever die on your watch?
It's at this moment that it all comes together for Dick. Jericho, the teammate that died while Dick was leading the Teen Titans as Robin, was actually the son of Slade Wilson. This whole time, Slade has been planning and picking the right moment to strike. So why not just kill me?
I could have killed you at any point, but that would have been too quick and easy. No, you deserve worse than death. You deserve to live with your guilt, for everyone to see that despite your best efforts, deep down you're still a bitter, broken child masquerading as a hero.
With that, Dick charges at Slade, now in his full Deathstroke gear. Dick takes wild swings, but isn't in the right frame of mind to fight. His emotions are all over the place, and Deathstroke is just toying with him. Add the fact that almost all of Nightwing's entire fighting style of late was taught to him by Deathstroke, and he can't find any sort of momentum because Slade has a counter for everything. Deathstroke, tired of playing around, produces his signature sword, ready to end the fight. With each failed attack by Nightwing, Slade gives him a cut in a different location. Nothing fatal, but sharp, quick attacks meant to weaken the opponent over time. Slowly bleeding out, Dick collapses to the floor.
I could kill you right here, right now, Grayson. But I want you to live with your guilt. I want your city to see you for who you truly are. Just a man. A man that will always let the people he cares about down when it matters most.
After Slade leaves, Dick tries to stay conscious and get to his feet, but collapses back down. As he's blacking out, he sees a lone cop car pull up. Its flashing lights the only thing he sees before passing out. Waking up 2 days later, Dick finds himself in a random house. He struggles to his feet and starts investigating his environment when he hears a familiar voice yell, "You're supposed to be resting!" as Amy Rohrbach emerges with some ice packs and medicine. Wait, you saved me? So you knew about my other job? I'm with you almost all day, every day. You're not clever enough to be able to hide secrets from me. How long have you known? Long enough, but up until recently, I never needed to do anything about it. Every cop in the city is looking for Nightwing now. So, you want to give me your side of the story before things get worse? Dick finally tells Amy everything, from growing up as Robin to teaming with Titans, to Slade appearing and quote-unquote training Dick to better handle the city. Slade's smart. He wanted to use your willingness to trust others and fill the father figure void to his benefit, twist it against you for added pain. I don't have a father figure problem, Dick says sharply. Are you sure about that? Dick goes quiet for a few minutes. So as an outsider observing this whole situation, how do I change my approach? Slade literally sees everything I've got coming. Amy suggests he should make a move that Slade won't see coming. She says Slade has been in his head ever since he showed up. Dick needs to find a way to get into Slade's head for a change. With that, Dick gets an idea. He picks up the phone and calls an old friend. Hey Alfred, it's me. Yeah, I know it's been a while. Life's just been messy lately. I'm figuring it out, but I do need some help with something. Can you send something to Bloodhaven for me as quick as possible? I'm feeling a little nostalgic. For the first time in months, Dick cracks a smile as he starts to formulate a plan. He finds the red suit Slade gave him, and via the suit's camera, he challenges Slade to a rematch. But he puts a little extra something on the challenge. If you want to end my career as a hero and destroy my legacy once and for all, here's your chance. If you beat me again, I'll turn myself in and hang up the spandex forever. If I beat you, you admit you killed Torque and leave me and Bloodhaven alone forever. Meet me at these coordinates. One way or another, this ends tonight. Dick stands prepared, ready for Deathstroke's arrival, except this time, he's not wearing the red suit. He's not even wearing the classic blue suit. In an attempt to play mind games with Deathstroke, Dick is sporting his old Robin costume. This works as a fun callback to his past, but it could also double as symbolism for where the character is mentally and emotionally.
You've got a lot of nerve wearing that again.
says Deathstroke, skulking out of the shadows. Deathstroke is clearly put off seeing that suit again, as the memories of his son come flooding back. Jericho was a good kid, and he deserved better, from both his Titans family and his real family.
I was his only family, and you took that from me.
Slade lunges at Dick with full force, holding nothing back. However, instead of trying to match Deathstroke blow for blow, Nightwing resorts back to his old fighting techniques. Talking a lot. He talks about all the good memories he had with Jericho, all the times he saw him save people and be selfless, traits he clearly didn't learn from his father. Dick says that Jericho knew the risks when he became a Titan, yet he still joined anyway because he was a hero. Here we see Dick is finally starting to forgive himself for what happened and accept that he doesn't always have to shoulder the responsibility of others. Now, with Slade being the emotionally compromised one, Nightwing goes on the offensive, mixing up his styles using a combination of his older, Batman-taught techniques and his newer, more aggressive fighting style. And because he's thinking clearly this time around, he's able to anticipate Slade's moves, the same ones Slade taught him, and use them against his opponent. Dropping to one knee, Deathstroke attempts one last-ditch effort to make Nightwing completely snap again.
Face it, Grayson. Deep down, you've got the same anger bubbling beneath the surface that I do. The desperate desire to protect people, even if it means hurting someone else in return. You can run from the inevitable all you want, but deep down we know you're just another Batman in waiting.
I'm not you, and I'm sure as hell not Batman. With that emphatic statement, Nightwing delivers a swift kick that puts Deathstroke down for good. Slade has finally been defeated, but what toll has he left on our hero? A week later, Officer Rohrbach stops by Dick's apartment to check in on him and give him an update on everything. She says that upon his arrest, Slade did confess to the murder of Dudley Solms, but through some legal loopholes he was released before anything could happen. Guess the friend in high places has friends in higher places. She then asks Dick when he's coming back to work. I don't think I am, actually. If I do, it's not going to be anytime soon. Slade uncovered stuff inside of me I've been trying to avoid for years. He was right about something. There are some demons I've been trying to push down instead of confronting. Makes me question who I am. So for now, I'm going to try and figure that out. Once I do, then I'll let you know what's next. Dick finally acknowledges that there are still some unresolved feelings, not just about being a hero, but about Batman and that falling out that was never really settled. As Amy leaves, Dick heads to his room and pulls out a box containing his classic black and blue Nightwing suit. He holds it thinking of what it truly means to not only be a hero, but more specifically, what it means to be Nightwing. After a moment of contemplation, he puts the suit back where it was, feeling as though he is unworthy of it, like it's not who he is anymore. Dick packs up a bag, switches off the light, and makes his way to leave. Not just the apartment, but leave Bloodhaven entirely. He feels lost and defeated, and like any child who has lost their way, the only place he knows to go is home as he passes a sign for Gotham City. But little does he know, his biggest challenge still lies ahead of him.
Well, that's how I would pitch a Nightwing movie sequel, or pitching a Nightwing movie part 2. What worked for you? What didn't? How would you do a Nightwing movie? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like what you see, there might be more in the future. It all depends on how much you guys like this one. If you want to see more Nightwing adventures, and if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to the channel. We do all kinds of movie-related content here. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.